Hey guys, it's Latoria. I am coming with another video, and tonight I'm actually at work, so I'm going to be talking a little bit quiet and using my trusty earpiece here, and just make another vlog. And today I wanted to really talk about 10 things that I've learned while being on my weight loss journey. And let me just give you a little background. I started my weight loss journey in February of 2015. And I started this journey because I was having some issues. My issues consisted of being, one, too fat, and that fat was just basically zapping all of my energy, and I was having heart palpitations. I wasn't able to breathe very well. I just was scatterbrained all over the place. I really couldn't work. And the reason I couldn't work is because of stress. And so I found myself at home calling out sick a lot. And I said to myself I had to do something. So some of the first things that I tried to do was acupuncture. And I tried to do, the hypnosis. And I tried to do everything under the sun except for eat right and go to the gym. I was looking for every other fix. And it wasn't really helping. And what ended up happening is I left my place of employment. I was an insurance agent, and I was doing really well. Let me also tell you, I'm a single mom of one, and that was the hardest decision that I think I've ever made in my whole entire life, to walk away from a job that was secure and to walk away not knowing exactly what I was going to do. Now, I will also give you a little bit more background. I always have worked with my parents at a shelter that they've had since 1999. And so I was able to just jump right back in and pick up shifts and work, that way. But what I wanted to do was focus on myself. The most selfish thing I've ever done in my whole life was focus on myself, and I felt guilty for it because my son at the time, I think he was maybe 5 years old, 6 years old, and he was, as a single parent with a single income and getting little to no child support, I really didn't know what to do with myself. I struggled, but I knew that I had to do something, and I had to do something fast, and I had to do something dramatic. So I did. Just like, so you know, intermittently the air conditioning goes in and off, on and off. So anyway, that's what you hear in the background. So more about my story here, just my background. So in February, after I quit my job, I decided to go to the gym. And that was one of the hardest things I think that I ever really did in the first steps to working out. And I avoided the gym like a plague. And the warmer it got, what I started doing was just going outside and doing 30-minute walks. And I would go walk and, you know, come back home, get my son ready for school, and, try to figure out how to make money while I lived an hour away from my hometown. And I learned to work on the internet. I learned to basically hustle, you know what I mean? And I didn't do anything illegal, but I learned just quick ways of making money without selling blood. And so in this journey, I decided for myself a few things. Some of the key things that I decided to do was I'm going to eat to live. That means I was going to eat fresh fruits and vegetables every day. And that means I was going to eat every color of the rainbow every day. It also meant that I needed to change my thinking. That was probably the most critical part of it all. Even harder than going to the gym. Changing my thinking, changing up how I looked at myself, what I thought about myself, and what I wanted ultimately for myself. So that's really what I did. And so now. All right, so the first thing that I learned is that I can do anything that I set my mind to as long as I'm willing to take the first step, and that's deciding to actually do it. And I learned this because, I went round and round and round with different ways to lose weight, to be healthy, to be mindful, to be, positive. And I tried to do it without actually doing it. I tried to do it the cheater's way, and I tried to do it the shortcut, and I tried to do it every way but the right way. And it wasn't until I, finally accepted what I really want and how to get there the right way, even through the woods and, the hard processes. It wasn't until I finally made up my mind that I really understood that, in hindsight, I can do whatever it is that I set my mind to. And that makes me really grateful for my own ambition and my own motivation. And that I'm able to wake up every day now and affirm myself and, encourage myself. And so I'm really proud that I've learned that in my journey. It was not easy. Every day is day by day, step by step. And there will be days that, like anyone else, I want to give up, and I want to eat what I want to eat, and I want to be lazy, and I want to be, in my old state of mind. However, those days become less frequent. And they become less frequent because I have to continually feed myself positive things, positive thoughts, positive affirmations, be around positive people. And if I feel something boiling up within me that does not suit me or serve me, I let it go. And I learn to let it go by just remembering that I know where I came from and I don't want to go back there. So I definitely am able now to make my mind up about things that I really want and then go for it. All right, guys. So the second thing that I learned about myself is that I have to create small wins, small goals in order for me to really get to my larger goal. Reason being is because, when I first started out, I was about 290 pounds. And, my goal has always been to be around 175. And when I think about, 290 to 175, that's a huge jump. That was over 100-pound jump, right? And I got down to 180, so I did lose over 100 pounds. But I gained it back. And since gaining it back, I've gained about 40 pounds of it back. And I'm like, no, we're not doing this again. But what I realize is that, when I started at 290 and I say, I want to be this particular weight, looking at the big picture, I'm like, I can't do it. I can't do it at all. But I started out by saying, I just want to lose 10 pounds. I just want to be able to walk 30 minutes without, stopping. I want to be able to go to the gym and do these particular exercises and not quit. And that's what it became. It became about making small goals so I could have small wins. And when I put them together, the collective picture is a large win. All right, so number 3. Another thing that I've learned along the way in my weight loss journey is that I had to learn to appreciate where I was at while I was there. And the reason why I really learned this is because I've gone backwards a little bit. And so like I just said, I gained some of my weight back, and it's really, it's a blow to the self-esteem sometimes when I really think about it. But I do say to myself that I don't ever want to be here again, so I'm going to appreciate what I'm learning in this time and in this moment, that I can remember as to why I don't want to come back here. Just the same as when I was 290, if I eat crazy, I know that I'm going to get back there, right? But what I decided is that I remember what it was in that moment to be there. And because I remember what it was in that moment to be there, I don't want to go back to it. Just as now, I really do appreciate who I am and how I feel now. But I also know that I like being healthy. I like being able to not just wear clothes that I want to wear that are super cute, but I like being able to run, and I like being able to go, and I like being able to travel, and I like being able to do things that, I couldn't do before without having struggles. And so I really just have come to appreciate who I am and where I'm at, and just take an assessment and self-inventory of what it is that, I see right now and apply it to every day. So it's just like, appreciating, right now, like I can look at my face and be like, my skin's clearing up, or I remember, not being able to go up the stairs as easy, and it's getting easier day by day. So, just looking at what it is that I have right now and being grateful. All right, so here's a hard one. I think I'm on number 4. This one's kind of hard to admit as well. One of the things that I really learned about myself is that I used fat as an excuse to avoid relationships and situations. And to just explain that, it's almost self-explanatory, but to explain that is I have not dated in forever, and I normally don't date. And the reason why is because I never felt worthy enough, because I had used this fat suit to strangle my whole life. And I know that sounds really, so sad, but that's reality for a lot of people. What they do is they put these shields on, or they put these shells on, and it helps them to avoid people. It helps them to avoid having to be vulnerable. It helps them to avoid having to open up in ways that they've tried to use the fat to hide. And that was me. And now I'm so much more confident, and I'm so much more secure in who I am. But because I had gotten so accustomed to not being in a relationship and accustomed to not having to be vulnerable, that's usually how I keep it. And so me vlogging right now is a way for me to come out of that shell and to expose myself to something different without overdoing it, because obviously I'm just holding the camera. But that's one way that, I've really learned that I use fat. I use fat as, a way to hold myself hostage and keep myself back, and use it as an excuse to limit myself from what I really, really wanted. And just along the journey, and I'm letting go of the the infamous fat. As I'm learning to let it go, I'm learning to embrace things that I never embraced before. And it's exciting, it's fun, it's new, it's fresh. And, I started venturing out a little bit. I met someone online, and I went to visit him back in June, and it was scary. It was scary because when I originally met him, I'm telling all the business now, but when I originally met him, it was like back in 2010, and I met him online, and I hid behind the computer. I was the keyboard warrior, and behind the computer screen, you can be as confident as you want. But when you step from behind the computer and you really, expose yourself to people, what you're really made of and who you really are is, what they get. And so, I was nervous, like, oh, am I too fat, or am I this or that? And it's like I went back to that fat girl mentality. And, lo and behold, obviously, I'm not an ugly person. And, it worked out. And we're still getting to know each other in a more real life reality way. But I really learned that, I use my fat as a way to hold myself hostage from things that I really wanted. And it was an excuse to not have to have courage. And it was an excuse to not have to step out on faith for things that I really, really wanted. So I learned a lot losing weight about myself, because I learned more and more what I wanted, and really decided again that if I wanted it, I had to go for it. And the first steps was just to do it. So number 5. Number 5 is pretty cool. I learned that I had been encouraging people who were watching me silently. And that was maybe through Facebook or Instagram, or, people in my community, and just being at the store, and, as my body was changing, my confidence obviously was changing as well. And I've never really been like a shy person, but I'm definitely a bashful person. So anyway, my confidence was sparking up. I was doing things that I wasn't normally doing, and going places that I normally didn't go. And so people were obviously watching me. They were looking at my physical as well as my mental and spiritual and everything else. And so, I would find myself engaging in conversations with people I've known for a long time that I thought, they're not worried about me in any way, shape, or form. And, they would say, wow, you have really inspired me. I've been, changing my eating, or I've been going out and, working out at the gym, or I've been doing this, that, and the third. And, when someone tells you that they're watching you, it makes you a little bit more conscious of what it is that you're actually doing. And so with other people saying, you encourage me, I'm watching you, it made me watch myself a little bit more too. And it made me want to keep on track, and not give up, and not necessarily disappoint them, but certainly I didn't want to disappoint myself, because people also will notice that too. And they will say, oh, you put on a little weight, girl. Yeah, just a little bit. But I didn't want to, I didn't want to completely lose myself in that, because like I said, when other people are watching you and they speak up for you in ways that you didn't notice, or you don't speak up for yourself and they say you're doing a good job, or, I like what you're saying, and you are encouraging, or whatever, it's a help for those who were like myself, who just kind of kept quiet and think that no one noticed, and that, you were making a difference, not just for yourself, but those around you. And it just kind of reminds me of the quote from Gandhi, if you want to change the world, you need to change yourself. That's really what a weight loss journey does too. If you want to change those who are around you and affect your family and affect, those that are your friends and those your coworkers or whatever, start changing little things about yourself and people notice it. So Number six is very similar to number 4, but number 6 is that I learned for myself that my fat has memory, like my muscle has memory. And they say if you work your muscle, over time, it remembers how to function in that way. And so what I learned, though, is when I'm losing fat under my arms or under my neck or in my stomach area, I make comments about it. And I notice that fat is releasing a hormone. And I know this is a little bit deep, but I'm a psychologist, so this is kind of a norm for me to notice, because I've learned to listen to my body. But what I learned is that as I'm losing weight and I'm losing these areas that I plump back up in, I made statements, or I made comments to myself. I would say not consciously, subconsciously, and some of them even unconsciously. I made comments to myself, and even in eating food or whatever, oh, this is going to go to my hips, or this is going to go to my stomach, or I don't like this, or I don't like that, or this makes me feel this way. And then when I'm losing that particular area where that fat went, I can tell that I have memory recalls of something that happened around the time where I gained that weight. And so here lately, I've been dealing with my own issues, and I've dealt with issues that have reminded me of past relationships. They have reminded me of hurts, pains, regrets. And I really had to think about, how did I get there, and what triggered it, and what made me think of that. And it isn't necessarily directly related to the fat, but it is certainly connected, and it is correlated to the fat. And it's like, okay, well, I don't have to feel like that anymore. I can let that go, just like I let the fat go. I can let this go. And another thing, like, while I'm detoxing, that's something that I've really learned to do as an exercise. When I go and take these horrible number two sometimes. I know that sounds so bad, but you know, that detox works, okay? Especially since I've added the ginger and honey and stuff, but I can't believe I'm putting this on camera. But what I do is I really think about what I want to let go in the process. And it's procrastination usually. Sometimes it's, you know, how I felt about a relationship or a particular time in a relationship or just a moment in my life that really left an impact on me that was either negative or confusing or a struggle. And I said, I really want to let this go. I'm letting this go. And I'm not picking it back up. And, you know, I affirm why I'm letting it go. And I affirm what I will feel like letting it go. And usually I'm lighter, I'm happier, I'm freer. I have more joy, I have more peace, I have more understanding about myself in this whole thing, in this whole few minutes of me using the bathroom. And then when I do finish, I look at it and I know people are like, oh, that's so gross. At least I'm thinking in my head, that's gross. But I look at it because it is gross and it is nasty and it's vile and it's what I don't want. It's what I don't want to ever pick back up. I don't ever want to go back to that again. And it's a chemical, it's a toxin, it's a metal, it's an impurity that's in my body that's coming out. And I look at it and I take it, you know, into a mental picture like this. Yeah, no, I don't want that. And I flush it and I let it go. And so for me, I am consciously doing an act that will register in my subconscious and unconscious mind, because I will always remember, first of all, that shit was nasty. And then second, I will remember that I don't want it back. And when I feel myself going back to that thought or going back to that energy or going back to that feeling, I will, maybe not immediately, but I certainly will be more aware and more mindful of the process of letting it go and why I don't want it back. So that's another thing that I've definitely learned to do since starting to detox and starting to lose weight and starting to really take an assessment of my body. Now, number 7 is I learned that my self-esteem and my confidence was low. And this one is so simple and self-explanatory. I'm not going to use 5 minutes to talk about it, but, you know, I really learned that, you know, just I didn't feel good at all. And I wanted to be better, be a better version of myself. I'll say it like that. And so in order for me to be a better version of myself, I had to really think about what it was that was holding me back. And a lot of times it was my self-esteem and my confidence and the thought if I could really do something or not. It's like, you know, when I would say, okay, well, I'm going to go walking today, and I didn't go or I don't do it, it chips away at my confidence, because then it's like I don't believe myself anymore. I don't trust myself anymore. What I say I'm going to do is no longer reliable even to myself. So, you know, I learned over this journey that setting those goals and everything, that when I commit to something for myself, it builds my confidence and it builds my self-esteem and it builds, you know, the positive energy that I have in how I view myself. All right, number 8. And number 8, I learned that, hi, my name is Latoria, and I used food as a drug of choice. Yeah. And I noticed that I used food as a drug of choice when I fell off the bandwagon. And it wasn't like, you know, like I put in the previous video, my thing is cookies and cake and ice cream sometimes, and definitely brownies. I learned to eat sugar as a way of soothing parts of myself. and a lot of soda. And when I start drinking soda, that's when I know I'm slipping. I'm tripping. Because as soon as I have that one hit, it's over. And so I learned to find means around drinking soda. Definitely use ice chips with, the powdered, the powdered drink stuff on it. But I try not to do that a lot. And I bought one of those soda fountains where you can make your own soda. But what I was doing though is I was using these foods that I was really, 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 really enjoying, and I was using them, and I was eating and consuming trauma, and I was eating and consuming pain, because every time I would take a bite, I'd be like, "Ugh, I don't need this. I'm not supposed to have this. I shouldn't even want this." But I was eating it anyway. And then it would be like, okay, I gotta stop. I can have a bite, but I gotta stop. And then I wouldn't stop. And it was like, I was literally killing myself with food, because then after I would eat it, I would feel bloated. I'd be sick. I'd be like lethargic and fatigued. I'd swell up. And I know these things were going to happen, but I would do it anyway. And then it would become a way to have all those things that triggered me in those times, like, okay, I feel bloated, so that means I don't feel good, which means I know that I did something wrong, which means that, see, I always do that. I always mess up. I always do the wrong thing, or I always do, and it's like, that's not true. I just ate a freaking brownie. But I used it as a way to abuse myself. I know I can laugh at it now because, sorry, let me hold this camera better. I used it as a way to abuse myself, and it was just unhealthy, and that's why it's not a healthy food. But then I had to, rework my way of thinking, like, it's okay really to have a brownie, but I choose not to have a brownie because I want better, and I'm trying to reach a goal, and I know how it really ultimately makes me feel. Now, I do find other ways to eat sugar. I do find other ways to enjoy chocolate, but, I try really to be more reflective, and to be more conscious, and to be more aware of what I'm putting into my body, because I know that I used it as a resource to feel pain. So yeah, I just had to learn to let certain foods go, because I was a food abuser. It was like hit me up, and it's painful thinking about it. But at the same time, I'm really glad that I'm an overcomer, and that I can kick those addictions. So if you are someone who is also struggling with food in that way, know that you can overcome food, and you can learn to let it go, but you do have to address the things that are really, really, really bothering you, and really, causing the real pain. And then start to, write down, go to therapy, exercise, definitely exercise, but find ways to really start understanding who you are and why you are using food. Right, number 9. Number 9 is another kind of doozy for me, because I have to admit it out loud to someone else. But I'm one of those people, when somebody asks me, oh, when are you getting married again? Or when are you going to have more kids? I'm like, I don't want that. But that would be not true. I want a loving, healthy relationship. And I want to be in a relationship with someone who motivates me and encourages me to continue to be my best self, and to continue to set goals, and to continue to be as ambitious as possible. And I learned that because, losing weight, and learning to eat right, and learning to cook new foods, and, do things that I never did before, I wanted to share those moments with someone who really is genuinely wanting to be there with me, and you know, me be there with them and pushing them and encouraging them and respecting and loving their goals just as much as mine. And so I really learned about myself that it's not that I really want to be single, and then, you know, I'm getting older, yes, but I do still want to have more kids. And so I'm really learning to once again be more vulnerable and be more open, because I do want to have a very healthy relationship with someone.
Black Jesus.
All right, so number 10, I made it. So number 10 is I don't want to be fat again, period. Um, so like I said before in the video, I started out about 290, and I'm going to post pictures after this. I started out about 290, and I didn't feel good. And I went down to 180, and now I'm back to around 220. Let's just say 220 for the sake of numbers. And as I've seen myself go back up, it's disappointing and it's frustrating. And like I said, it's kind of like a kick to the gut, because it's not that I couldn't do it. It's not that I didn't do it, but I didn't maintain it. I let myself go. And, you know, day to day, you don't, when you're eating some foods or you're doing certain things, and it's like you're not having like a 10-pound gain in a day, but you have 2 pounds here and 3 pounds there and a pound here and a pound there. Like, it starts to pick up over time, and it doesn't feel good. And you know it doesn't feel good, but you keep doing what you're doing anyway, and it's not helpful. Well, I don't want to go back to that. Once I get to my goal, I want to stick it. And I want to be the best Latoria ever, honey. I want to be popping, even if it's just in my own world. I don't need to be some big star. I don't need to be some big YouTuber. I don't need to be anything that proves anything to anybody else. I just want to prove to myself that I'm worthy of every goal that I set. I am a hard worker. I am more than ambitious. I am dedicated to me. And in order to do that, I have to first admit that I don't want to go back to where I come from. I do not want to go back to being in pain, physically, mentally, emotionally. I don't want to go back to putting food in my mouth that causes me to be like sick and headaches and sleepy all the time. I don't want to go back to not having enough energy to where, I can't go up and down stairs. I can't play with my son. I can't, put on clothes that I want to wear and go places that I want to go. I don't want to go back to being that lesser version of me, the one that was in a hostage suit, that was, always feeding myself negative things, negative thoughts, and being somebody who couldn't see themselves in a relationship because I was always so conscious of, am I too fat? Or am I too this? Or am I too that? Am I too nerdy? Am I too whatever? Yes, I can admit it. I'm a nerd. I'm not a geek. I don't know technology like that. A nerd, yes. But I want to be the best version of me possible, and I may not live for forever. Yeah, duh. But I want to live for a long time, and I want to live for a long time and be excited about living, and I want to be positive about every single day, and that starts with what I feed myself through affirmations, through my thoughts, and through the people I hang out with, through what I do as far as an activity or hobby or work. It's all important. It all plays a role. It all has something to do with who you are. And I want to be the best version of myself humanly possible. I want to be the best version of myself spiritually and soul light wise. So yeah, I don't want to be fat again, ever again. So yeah, that's my video about 10 things that I've learned in my weight loss journey, and I also continue to learn more about myself. But in this light, I would like to learn more about myself in a positive way, and be excited every single day about what it is I want and what I'm doing and what my goals are and where I'm going. Because sooner or later, the goal will not be weight loss, and the goal will not be eating right, and the goal will not be drinking water, and the goal will not be, because those are things that are already water under the bridge, and I will be doing it in a fantastic way. So thank you for watching this video. If you have enjoyed it, please hit the like button. If you also like my content so far, please make sure you hit the subscribe button and hit the notification bell so that you can always be updated with the most current content that I post. And definitely leave a comment if this video was helpful for you, or if you have any questions, or you just want to connect. Follow me on Instagram at Latoria Q, and I will see you guys on the next video. Peace.